Now, we should move on to the next trailer we wanted to talk about, which is the new Superman trailer. Oh, I love that dog. I love that dog. Okay, so I will ask the questions now. So what did you think of this trailer? Are you, in general, excited for this new Superman take? What are your thoughts on the new DC universe they're building up? James Gunn as the lead of this universe. You know, what are your thoughts? We haven't really spoken about the new DC stuff on the podcast yet.
No, so I was very apprehensive initially when it was announced James Gunn was going to be the new Kevin Feige of DCEU.
Right.
I think he's obviously great. I pretty much like all his movies, especially the stuff he's done outside of superhero films. You know, he's got a great filmography, James Gunn. I think he's very talented, but he's definitely an auteur, and he has a specific style. And
I mean, he wrote the Scooby-Doo movie, so that's an auteur right there.
Exactly. And he's very good with his group of misfits and like ragtag group of losers kind of set up. You know, that is his bread and butter. He's done it already with, I haven't seen it yet, but Creature Commandos is that, Suicide Squad.
Even the Peacemaker TV show.
Super Peacemaker. Yeah, he's very much his style. That's not very attuned with Superman, to be honest. So I kind of thought he's a weird fit as a director for the Superman movies. But I'd rather him do it than than a lot of other filmmakers. At least we know that he loves his comic books. He has a lot of reverence for comics, and he doesn't mind going real deep onto the more comic booky elements when it comes to his films. So it'll definitely be a very interesting take on Superman. None of the trailers necessarily getting me crazy excited, but I think it's going to be a good film, and it looks like it's so chock full of stuff.
Even too much, I guess. Like, I'm curious to see like the Nathan Fillion character and all these other masked guys, what their role is going to be, how big of a role they're going to have. But
yeah, it looks like there's already a pre-established team of heroes in this universe that Superman comes into, and he sort of disrupts that.
And it makes sense. They want to hit the ground running. They want to already have a bunch of heroes there, a bunch of people, and Superman is just going to be one of the characters that they are going to introduce over the next few years. So they want the universe to feel already established, which makes complete sense based on the fact that they've already done a lot of DC stuff in the past few years, so people do not want to see origin movies anymore necessarily, even though this is going to be an origin film for Superman. It's not going to be the classic story of him arriving on Earth and then growing up and facing bullies and then discovering that from great power comes great responsibility. Oh wait, that was the other one. Yeah, like I think, I don't know, man, I don't want to be, I feel like in these conversations I play the role of the blind optimist that is like, oh, this is going to be great, but I really
hey man, if you think it looks amazing, then go for it. I think it's going to be good. I think but you know what, not that it's a great film, but like the Man of Steel trailer is probably better than this. It's more like epic feeling. It has obviously the Hans Zimmer 6 score on it. Not that the music's bad in this, but it doesn't have that same level of epicness as that.
I feel like that's on purpose. I guess they don't want to go for that tone because that's the Zack Snyder tone. They're going for something a little bit different.
Well, so it's sort of the Zack Snyder tone. It's fitting for Superman. He is so much. He's like larger than life, I think, whereas James Gunn's trying to make him a bit more everyday feeling. And, you know, in a lot of the trailer scenes, we have him beaten up or he's like worse for wear. So that I think he's trying to humanize him a lot, which is, a creative decision. And I think it's fine because there's loads of other threats that can hurt Superman. So I don't mind that. It's just, it's his version of it. And I think Superman is maybe a bit cooler when it's a bit more like epic in scope.
I don't know. I think they are starting a little bit smaller maybe, because the problem with the Zack Snyder stuff, you know, and I kind of defend Man of Steel. I think it's a decent action movie.
Man of Steel's, it's alright.
It has some great moments, and I've always been, up until recently, a Zack Snyder apologist. Like, you know, I didn't like his DC stuff, but I always thought he was visually a very accomplished director until, you know, these more recent output, which was complete bullshit in my opinion.
You loved Rebel Moon, didn't you?
I watched both of them and I do not remember any of it. So yeah, I love it. But I feel like he went so big, so quick. Like in the first movie, they had this planet-ending threat, and it looks like there's some planetary stuff here too. But I don't think they're gonna go like huge scope in the first movie because they want to build up to it.
Well, they've already got a lot of villains in this trailer. Obviously, we have Nicholas Hoult, who I think is great casting for Lex Luthor. To be fair, he's probably going to be my favourite bit of the movie, I think. And he's just a really good actor, and I think that was always good casting. I think he's going to be great, and then obviously you have all these other little sub-villains that he's fighting throughout the movie as well. So there is a lot going on here. And I think, the massive kaiju, big monster fighting and destroying a city is not that far off Zod and Superman destroying Manhattan.
That's fair, but it's the tone in which you decide to tell a story.
Oh yeah, tonally different, yeah.
And I just like how bright this is, how colorful this is. I am not a huge Superman guy. I plan on reading some of the comic books that apparently inspired James Gunn on this take of Superman. I think All-Star Superman and Superman Seasons are gonna be like big inspiration points.
There's a Justice League story called Justice League International, which I think is a heavy inspiration on this, which is supposed to be one of the best like Justice League storylines on comics.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who's gonna lend me some of these comics, and I'm gonna do some research. So maybe before the movie comes out, we can do a little bit of a deep dive on this. But it gets me excited on this character that I'm not hugely familiar with. I really want to see this take. I trust James Gunn because he hasn't disappointed me yet. I'd be surprised if this movie is bad.
Oh yeah.
It might not be amazing, but it's gonna be definitely entertaining.
I don't think it's gonna be bad, yeah. He's too good, and even with the things I don't love of his.
And he cares too much. He cares too much about this project specifically. So I have good vibes.
And his name is fucking plastered all over it as well. Like he is very much, this is James Gunn's Superman. Like it is very much marketed with him as the figurehead of it. So there's a lot lying on his shoulders.
And the dog is based on his dog or something like that. So it's a very...
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit too much personal touch he's had on this. Like I said, I haven't watched Creature Commandos, but apparently he's like animated himself into the opening of the animated shows now. And it's like him with a little typewriter at the beginning. It's like, yeah.
Is it getting to his head already? Oh no, man!
It honestly seems a bit like that way, but we shall see.
That's a shame because I felt like what made him so good was how down to earth and just a nerd he was. But now that he's in charge of this huge universe, maybe that's not the case anymore.
Well, and I think you could see that from. Do you remember he did that announcement video?
Yeah,
it was just him in front of a camera, and he was listing off all the projects they've got coming up for the next 10, 20 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was all very much, I'm doing Booster Gold, I'm doing all these weird random projects that you shouldn't be the starters of your universe sort of thing, because it's all his favourite stuff. I think you need to take your personal touch out of it a bit when you're setting up a massive universe of...
I mean, yes, when you are talking about James Gunn as the kind of head of DC Studios, as the person in charge of deciding what gets made and what doesn't, yes, remove yourself and your personality from some of it, not all of it. I still want something that is made by a human. But when it comes to the Superman film itself, yes, please put all the James Gunness that you want in it, because I much rather have a very personal movie than just a whatever movie.
Yeah, I mean more when I'm deciding what projects to pick, because it's obvious. If you're setting up a DC universe, you really should be doing Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash.
They're still figuring out Batman. I don't know if they know what they're gonna do, because I think the thing that makes more sense is to just fold the Robert Pattinson Batman into this universe, but maybe it doesn't lend...
You can't.
You can't do that, so like they're gonna make a new Batman, but like people are not gonna be like, hey, but this is like the 5th Batman in 5 years. Like I'm losing track.
But you know what I mean? You need those core The Trinity is Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman, and like they need to be very different in tone and style, and you just need to get them all right, and then bang, you can set up the rest of your universe from that. I think I kind of got a bit worried when he was talking about all these other little side projects and all these kind of very CD list characters that he wants to focus on. It's like, that's very you, James Gunn, but that's not what we need for the whole DCU. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. But I think they do have plans for like bigger stuff. And I feel like if they start with smaller characters and smaller teams, they have more freedom to experiment. And so I think, you know, people who are giving a lot of shit to Gunn for like picking and choosing, yes, I mean, you are entitled to that opinion, but I feel like to what extent he knows what he's doing, he knows where these stories could lead to.
Let's hope so. It's just risky. It's risky when you're trying to rejuvenate the DCU to do anything that's not Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman.
And you announce a Clayface movie before you announce a Batman movie. Yes.
I know. It is weird. And obviously, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of unknowns going on with Batman 2, with Matt Reeves' one, so it's maybe that's what's causing the issues there. But yeah, I still think, like we said, it's going to be good. I just don't know
if it's going to be great.
Yeah, I just doubt it's going to be great. I think it's going to be good, and I'll definitely watch it at the cinema. But I don't know whether you maybe not want to know as well. But there's like one little leak that I heard about a scene.
Oh no. Okay, tell me at the end.
Okay.
Like, the last thing, we do spoilers.
And it's very much in tune with what I've been talking about, the James Gunn-ness of it all, so...
Oh, is it like Dwight from The Office shows up in his red outfit from Super?
Or his wife shows up or something.
Oh my God.
His brother turns out to be the real Superman.
Oh no, his brother is gonna play Lex Luthor, actually. He's the real Lex Luthor, and Nicholas Hoult is just in this one as a red herring.
His brother was in that trailer, wasn't he? No, his brother's in the Peacemaker trailer. And he's playing like Maxwell Lord, which, hey, whatever. It's as long as he's good for it.
It's always like this. I don't know why we're singling out James Gunn for putting his wife in a movie or putting his brother. Everyone does that. Tim Burton has done it with fucking Helena Bonham Carter and Johnny Depp for years, and no one gave two shits about that.
You're comparing Helena Bonham Carter to Sean Gunn. That's unfair.
The roles that Sean Gunn has had in Gunn projects were appropriate for him, and it was one of the scavengers in Guardians.
Yes, I know, I agree. And the worst Guardians film is the one where he gets way too much screen time. Is number 3,
and it's still good.
Yeah, it's just those things. Those things are only highlighted if it doesn't turn out well. So we shall see. I've got some decent hopes for the film, though.
Yeah, I don't know. From what you're saying, it might be getting to his head that he is becoming this huge deal. From where he started off, like in Trauma, with all those B movies, Toxic Avenger and stuff, him becoming the head of DC Studios is a huge deal. So
it's crazy.
It's a big nerd, and he's gonna do nerdy things, and some of it will work and some of it will not work, and it's fine. But what I need them to do is have an idea, have a plan, and let the voices, the creative voices that they choose, do their thing. Because that's something that DC always had over Marvel. Like, Marvel figured out this formula pretty early on with the Iron Man movies, you know, and they slowly but surely changed, like, all their stuff feels pretty much the same, with a few exceptions, like the Guardians movies, for example, or some of the Captain America movies. But they have this consistent tone that doesn't always work with what we are trying to accomplish with a story. While DC, you know, like, they made a mistake in giving so much free reign to Zack Snyder, but those movies are definitely Zack Snyder movies, you know, and when you leave Zack Snyder do his thing, you get something like Zack Snyder's Justice League, which, I mean, it's not amazing, but it's a definite improvement on the schlock that was the original Justice League movie. So, like, when you choose a creative mind, when you choose a creative voice, just let them do their thing. Let it play out, because I feel like, you know, I'm way more interested in a James Gunn Superman movie than just like the new DC extended universe Superman movie. Like, that's
100%. You're right. You get the best of these types of films when the creative voices are allowed to take them in a bit more of a different direction. You get your Jokers, and you get your, the Guardians one. You get those outliers within the genre.
And there's a risk of getting a Joker 2 every once in a while. But at least we let the creatives do their thing. So
yeah. Be interesting to see how much we're setting up in this film as well. Like how much we're going to try and lead into all the next projects, because I'm not sure what the DC have a slate of what their next movie is.
I'm sure there is, but I'm not. I wouldn't be able to tell you. Let's see.
I think maybe Supergirl is the next film after that. Well, you got Peacemaker, then Supergirl.
What about The Brave and the Bold? Wasn't that supposed to be like the new Batman version?
Yeah, I guess they've just pushed that back. Kept pushing that back.
Swamp Thing.
See, I mean, that is kind of my worry. I'm looking at, they've got a lot of things in development, and maybe when they say in development, they actually mean it, because when Marvel says in development, or Star Wars, that doesn't actually mean anything.
So they have Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, due June 26, 2026. So like basically a year from now. Then Clayface in September.
That's got to be bullshit though. They've only just cast that Clayface film.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, that's definitely gonna be pushed back. And then to be announced, The Authority, The Brave and the Bold, Swamp Thing.
The Lanterns TV series, that is actually in production, so that will come out. And that's something that was one of the announcements Gunn made that I thought sounded quite interesting. He said it was like a True Detective style Green Lanterns show, which sounds cool.
Yeah, that sounds really up my street. So they have Peacemaker. These are the television series. They have Peacemaker coming out soon in August. Lanterns in early 2026, and then to be announced, the TV show about Waller, which I'm confused about. Paradise Lost.
So Paradise Lost is the Wonder Woman Themyscira film.
It's exactly. Before the birth of Wonder Woman, something goes down in Themyscira. Yes, that is what it is about.
It's such a weird slate. Such a weird movie slate to start your universe off with.
I mean, maybe they do it's a prequel to Wonder Woman before Wonder Woman, so that they do it differently than the old DC, where they introduced Wonder Woman in a movie where she had nothing to do until she fought.
When you look at the projects individually, they all sound like interesting and exciting in their own way. It's just, as a whole, it's a weird direction to go in. And it's just risky, like we said, because if Superman doesn't do great, you're banking on your next movie, Supergirl, being a success, which is, I think that's going to be quite hard if Superman doesn't do well.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like you should have your Batman, Wonder Woman, or the Flash. We can't do Flash, we've seen him too recently, and it's probably the same with Batman, but you need to have one of these major characters ready to go with the next big movie.
Yeah, agreed. So what's this leakage you were talking about? What happened? This is a spoiler, potentially, of what's going to happen in the movie? Is it like a big one?
I wouldn't. People have, seen the film already, like test screenings and stuff. So, and this, I suppose it could be changed. I don't know whether you noticed, in the first little teaser trailer, somebody throws like a soup can at Superman's head. Have you seen the comparison of the two scenes? Because in the second trailer, they've actually edited it out and they've changed it.
I saw the scene and I just assumed it was the same scene.
In the first teaser, somebody throws a can at his head and he blinks and he reacts. And in the second, and I think people were really pissed off by it. So in the second one, they've CGI'd out his blink.
Oh, it's just his reaction.
So now he doesn't react to the hit, which is so funny.
Okay.
And maybe that because of fan backlash, they got rid of that. Or changed that.
Oh man, I would have never noticed this in a million years. I'm gonna go back to the old trailer and see.
It's just interesting.
People really complain about this stuff. Oh man, is this really what's important to you? Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Superman would not flinch.
Superman wouldn't feel the soup can if it hit him in the back of the head.
But they have I was way more impressed and interested in the scene that we see shortly after, when the police is kind of pushing him down on the concrete and he basically just destroys the asphalt with his face. That was so cool. And in that moment you're like, okay, so he is Superman. He could, if he wanted to, he could just destroy these people in a second. He doesn't need to be, he cannot be constrained, but he's letting them do it. And in the process, he's literally with his face just cracking the surface off.
I think in that scene, he's being crushed by one of the other villains. that Ultraman guy. Yeah, because apparently
It looks like it's like oh yeah.
there's
It looked like it was no yeah because there's military behind him, so I thought it was like a police officer, but no.
I think he's like the guy in the black helmet who's going to be. I think he's like one of Luther's henchmen type things.
Oh yeah.
But so yeah, the leak I heard, it's only little and it's kind of funny. It's why I wanted to mention it. But apparently there's a scene. So a large part of the story is Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor trying to change public's perception about Superman and trying to like make fake news to make him look like a piece of shit. And this hashtag starts trending called #supershit. And, and Lex Luthor has a team of monkeys, genetically modified monkeys who are trolls online who spread disinformation about Superman.
That sounds like Gunn.
As long as it's like one little gag, I don't mind, but I just think that's silly.
But wait, no. This makes me think, because there's one character that is briefly shown. I don't think we see him in this trailer, but he's played by John Malkovich. Oh, maybe I'm confusing the Fantastic Four trailer with this. Am I being stupid?
Oh, yes, that's Fantastic Four. Yes.
But it's so weird because I felt like, okay, so I'm pretty sure the character that John Malkovich is playing in the Fantastic Four movie is probably based on this comic book character who like commands these genetically modified monkeys and like gorillas. So it's so weird that there would be in these two superhero movies coming out in the same month.
Surely there's not going to be an army of monkeys in, because that's always been more of DC's thing with like Gorilla Grodd and all that shit.
I am like 90% sure that this John Malkovich character has to do with monkeys, at least in the comics. I don't know if they're going to use it that way in the film. So it's weird that you're telling me like I made this connection in my head. Oh my god, like this makes sense. It's just going to be John Malkovich character, not Lex Luthor, but I guess it's Lex Luthor.
And
then.
It's just I don't know. It comes across as a little bit, like I said, if it's a very small joke, it comes across as silly and petty as well. It's a bit petty.
Yeah, like internet trolls, just like
it's like, hey,
mean.
I'm going to use my $400 million Superman film to make a joke about online trolls who don't really mean anything or aren't important, but because James Gunn spends his life on Twitter responding to people all the time, maybe for him that is like so important a thing. But also he himself's kind of has been cancelled a bit at one point, so people are saying it might be a reference to that. I just think when you're making something as like iconic as Superman, you should be above all of that.
I agree. There would be a low blow and an unnecessary way of siding with all those people who try to pin the certain things on like fandom when it's just like usually very few outliers are trying to be assholes on the internet, because there's always going to be assholes on the internet.
Exactly. Whether a film's good or bad, trolls will be trolls.
You know, it's like we've been discussing The Last of Us week by week, and I think we've been very fair to the show. We even both said that the first season is one of our favorite video game adaptations of all time. And when we discuss what's wrong with season 2, there's fair criticism and then there's toxicity that makes no sense and has no point.
Yeah.
And you can't stop that. You know, like the internet is always going to be like that. And if you...
Yeah, and big film companies use that too much as a shield from any criticism, and I find it so annoying when they're like, oh, toxic fans. It's like, you know what, fans aren't toxic when you make a really good film for the most part, you know what I mean? Like, it tends to be revered and all that stuff goes away. It's only when things are like badly written a lot of the time when that criticism comes, and people then use other ways to get around that.
Absolutely. All right, did you want to say anything else about Superman?
No. But we'll definitely do a review on it once it comes out, and we'll both see it at the cinema. So I hope it does well, because I want to see more DCEU films. So
for sure, they need it, and we need it. We need a good Superman movie to bring us hope, and I don't want it to suck. It would be depressing if it sucked.
Hopefully it won't suck. I think it'll, as yeah, I think it probably needs to make at least like 600 to 800 million.
Yeah, probably even more.
To be a bit of a success. So yeah, we shall see.